Go.
All right, good evening, everyone. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of the Morristown area, the Morris County chapter of the NAACP, and the Madison Eagle New Jersey Hills Media Group, I am pleased to welcome you to our Madison Borough Board of Education Forum. My name is Justine Mora. I am a member of the League of Women Voters of the Morristown area. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. Empowering voters and defending democracy is our mission. Elections and voting are core concerns for the League. We are committed to providing fact-based information about issues and positions candidates take on those issues to help voters make their own decisions and participate in the electoral process. We envision a democracy where everyone has the desire, the right, the knowledge, and the confidence to participate. The League, as a nonpartisan organization, never supports or opposes political parties or candidates. Membership in the League is open to people 16 years and older of all gender identities. With 100 years of experience, the League is one of America's oldest and most trusted civic nonprofit organizations. Partnering with the League in presenting this forum, we welcome and thank Vanessa Brown, President of the NAACP Morris County Branch, and Alex Parker Magyar, Madison Eagle New Jersey Hills Media Group, for working with us. I will now invite Vanessa and Alex to say a few words.
Thanks very much. My name is Alex Parker Magyar. I'm the managing editor of the Madison Eagle, part of the New Jersey Hills Media Group family of 14 local papers in and around Morris County. The Madison Eagle has been Madison's hometown source of independent news for well over 100 years. If you're not familiar with what we do, I'd encourage you to visit madisoneagle.com or find us in several storefronts in town, or consider subscribing to the paper. Our mission is to provide in-depth and balanced coverage of all things Madison, including coverage of events such as this forum tonight. We provide coverage of the school district and the borough government, but more important, the stories of the many individuals who make up the Rose City and the issues that affect them. As of last year, we've converted to nonprofit status under our new parent company, another independent and locally owned organization, the Corporation for New Jersey Local Media. The organization was founded to ensure the survival and growth of the Madison Eagle and our sister papers so that we may sustain and improve upon our tradition of providing quality local news from trained journalists at a time when local news outlets are disappearing across the country. We're honored to partner with the League of Women Voters and the NAACP to co-sponsor this forum. All three of our organizations share a common core mission to inform and engage residents on the local issues that affect their everyday lives. An informed electorate is an empowered electorate, and we thank the League and all four candidates tonight for their commitment to keeping the public informed. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Vanessa Brown. I am the president of the Morris County NAACP branch and also the third vice president for the New Jersey State Conference. And we are having our conference on October 13th through 15th right here in Tiffany at the Sheraton Hotel. We are the oldest, boldest, and the baddest civil rights organization on the planet. Formed in 1909, due to all of the lynching that was taking place, we had abolitionists, W.E. Du Bois and the like, get together and form the NAACP in 1909. And basically, our mission is to fight, advocate for social justice. We are nonpartisan, but very political. So there you can become a member. You go to NAACP, which is naacp.org, and become a member for an annual membership for adults of $30 and youth for $10. There are many organizations, many that fight and stress civil rights, but they're on the forefront with regards to education, housing, criminal justice, the legal system. And again, the real story of the nation's oldest and largest civil rights organization lies in the hearts and minds of all those who refuse to stand idly while race prejudice tarnish our nation. Again, I urge you to become a member of the NAACP, NAACP Thank you for all of you who are participating tonight and giving our citizens the opportunity to hear your viewpoint, because that is what we do. That is how we should conduct ourselves, so that we can, see what you're thinking and see who we should actually vote for. Thank you, League of Women Voters, and everyone else who are sponsors of this wonderful forum. Have at it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alex and Vanessa. We are grateful to the NAACP and New Jersey Hills Media Group for their nonpartisan participation and support, and look forward to continuing our work together. We encourage everyone to go to vote411.org, a one-stop site for information on all aspects of voting in New Jersey, with information about all candidates up and down the ballot. And also, please visit our lwvmorrisarea.org website and the New Jersey League website, lwvnj.org, which addresses the latest in voting concerns. All forums conducted by the New Jersey Leagues can be viewed on the New Jersey website, lwvnj.org. This forum is being live streamed on the Morris Area LWV YouTube channel and will be available there for viewing afterwards, along with all of the Morris County and LD25 forums conducted over the past 3 years. We encourage the sharing of League's recordings of this event in its entirety, but do not allow editing or make public any excerpt from the recording. At this time, I would ask everyone to please silence their phones and refrain from taking photos or videos during the forum, as well as posting on social media. The League name, logo, event recording, or any materials from the event cannot be used in any way that could lead a viewer or reader to infer League support or of opposition to any candidacy. At this time, I would like to introduce our moderator, Louise Murray. Louise is a League-trained moderator who is not from this voting district. She will introduce the candidates and outline the format for this evening.
Well, thank you, Justine. And again, thank you to our co-sponsors, the Madison Eagle and the NAACP. Our format tonight is straightforward. Each of the candidates will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves and discuss the issues that concern them. Then we will proceed to the questions that the Madison community has posted to our social media posts that you, the voters in Madison, have concerns about. Yesterday, I met with our co-sponsors, the Madison Eagle and the NAACP, to review the questions, eliminate redundancies, and in some cases, make some edits. So the questions that will come represent the full breadth of concerns that the voters in the Madison community had. So we can look forward to that. For the questions, each candidate will have a 1 minute time period to respond to the question. If any of the candidates would like to rebut or respond to another candidate's answer to the question, please, they will raise their hand, and after everyone has finished, I will call on them and give the opportunity for an additional 30 seconds to the remaining candidates who would like that time. In our interest to be objective, we will rotate the order of who responds to each of the questions, and I will call on the candidates to do that. Since we're meeting virtually, we can't use a lottery to pick the order for opening and closing, so we're using a more traditional method of alphabetical by last name. So with that, we will begin with Mr. David Duran for his 2 minute opening statement. It's all
Thank
yours.
you. Thank you, Louise. Hi, I'm David Duran, Madisonian since 2011, husband to Jen for 16 years, and father to 2 girls currently at Central Avenue and the Madison Junior Schools. We love Madison for its walkable streets, strong sense of community, and of course, its great schools. Lately, though, tension within the board is up, trust is down, key administrators have left, and important work is taking too long to get done. I'm running for the Madison Board of Ed this November to help move our district forward. My collaborative approach and strong analytical thinking has helped me tackle complex problems throughout my 20-year career in the pharma and consumer health industries. From early stage research and innovation through manufacturing and commercial execution, I've led interdisciplinary teams to find innovative solutions and overcome challenges. As a member of the Madison Board of Ed, I would employ the same thoughtful, collaborative, and data-driven approach to help move our schools forward and keep them at the top of the class. I left the full-time corporate world in 2020 to spend more time as a dad and husband and to get more connected in the local community. Since then, I've been actively involved in the schools, started coaching rec track, and joined the Madison Rotary Club's Board of Trustees. In that time, I've become much more aware of all the important work happening at the local level and continue to be amazed by the sheer depth of care and commitment the community shows via parent advocacy groups, PTOs, volunteer organizations, and so many more. If elected, I would seek new ways to strengthen collaboration between our schools, families, and these broader Madison community groups to give every child the best opportunity for success. Thanks to the League of Women Voters for hosting this session. Thanks to you for taking the time to submit questions and tune in. I look forward to telling you more.
And Ms. Lisa Ellis is the second to introduce herself.
Thank you. I'm going to use my opening to give you a little background for those of you who don't know me. First, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum tonight. Events like this are such a tremendous service to the community. My name is Lisa Ellis, and I'm running for a seat on the Madison Board of Education because I passionately believe that the strength of the public schools is the foundation of the entire community. By way of background, I've had the privilege of working for the Borough of Madison as Director of Business Development since November of 2017. I served as a commissioner on the Downtown Development Commission, or DDC, from 2008 until accepting this position. Over the last 30 plus years, I have also served as a volunteer on many other borough boards and commissions, including Open Space, MASA, Complete Streets, and most recently, the Ad Hoc Diversity Committee. Working to make Madison the very best it can be has always been my primary focus, and my extensive volunteer service has allowed me the opportunity to build strong relationships within the community. I previously served on the Madison Board of Education from April of 2003 through December of 2018. I served as board president for over 12 years from late 2005 through December of 2017, holding leadership roles for most of my tenure on the board. I achieved New Jersey School Board Master Board status in 2014. I was also a member of the Board of Trustees of Morris County School Boards Association from 2008 through 2017. I have extensive Madison School District specific experience with facilities and constructions, including a leadership role in passing a $48 million successful referendum in 2005.
Okay.
I'm done.
Yeah, I think you're done.
I'll
We
finish
we
what I
see
said.
our stop sign. Absolutely.
Too many years.
Okay. And now we go to Eric Fontaine.
Hello, good evening. Welcome. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters of the Morristown area, the Madison Eagle, the NAACP, and all the folks who helped organize this debate tonight. Thank you all, Madison residents, for joining us virtually and for viewing this on YouTube at a later time. Thank you for being involved in the school community. I'm happy to introduce myself. My name is Eric Fontes. I've been a Madison resident for 11 years, and I have 2 children at Torrey J. Sabatini Elementary School. They are my inspiration for running for the Board of Education because I want to make sure they and all Madison students get the best education possible. My family's experience at the elementary school has been fantastic. The teachers are excellent, the administrators are supportive and engaged, and my children have thrived. That said, I know there are some issues facing our district that I'll hopefully speak to later tonight. But a little bit more about me. We demand excellence in Madison, and I've been working to achieve excellence in education for 2 decades. I started my career teaching math for 6 years at a New York City public high school in Washington Heights. From there, I moved to Madison in 2012 and began working for the Summit Public School District. I'm currently the math supervisor for all secondary education, grades 6 through 12 in the district, in addition to teaching AP statistics. I work closely with Summit's superintendent, district administrators, and Board of Education members. I can offer a unique insight into how other districts operate and how to balance multiple priorities, from curriculum development, academic intervention, and support services to budget maintenance, teacher retention, and staff management. I bring a well-rounded perspective grounded in the needs and opportunities of a public district. I'm looking forward to bringing clear communication, transparency, cohesion, and professionalism if elected to the Board of Education. We need to rebuild the trust and communication between different stakeholders, from the administration to the Board of Ed to the community. And I want to be somebody you can trust at the Board of Ed.
Thank you. Okay, and now for you, Deidre Ostrowski, you have your 2 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Deirdre Ostrowski. Thank you for hosting us. I wanted to start off saying we all hope to do this forum in person, but in any event, happy to be a part of this conversation virtually. I grew up in a neighboring district of Milburn Township and attended the public schools there. My 4th grade teacher, Mrs. Gakis, introduced me to a TV interview panel, and from there I had my intentions set on becoming a news and entertainment journalist. My first job out of college, I went to Villanova University, was in the NBC Page program at 30 Rock in New York. I spent the first 12 years of my career working in corporate communications, marketing, and production. I worked at the Olympic Games, Kentucky Derby, Sundance Film Festival, and a season at Saturday Night Live during the first Obama election, to name a few. Working in a high-intensity environment, managing logistics, negotiating multi-million-dollar deals, and collaborating with many different stakeholders is not foreign to me. An entrepreneur at heart, 10 years ago, I decided to join my family business and launch a real estate career. More importantly, I am most proud to share that I'm a mother to 3 incredible boys. I am also a special needs parent. My son Joseph has autism. He's in the 4th grade at Central Avenue School and has been there since age 3. I'm very passionate about advocating for the differently abled children in our community and supporting Madison's Special Services Department. My twins, Kellen and John, are in 1st grade at Torrey J, and they are so proud to be Jaguars. They love to go to school and learn, and I thank their fantastic kindergarten teachers for that foundation. I believe in public education, and I love living in the Madison community. I know it's possible to improve our culture, modernize our facilities, empower administration, retain the best talent, provide better training, and put an emphasis on emotionally strong and enabled learners. We have a lot of work to do, and every seat on the board needs to be ready to align and fire on all cylinders. Thanks.
And I commend all of you for staying within the limits. And now we'll move to the questions that have come from the Madison community.
Hold on, you're on mute right now, so we can't hear you.
Okay, I think I'll keep this. Thank you. Sorry about that. So now we go to the questions. Each candidate has 1 minute to respond. If you'd like to rebut, just raise your hand and I'll call on you later. All of these questions were submitted to our the League's social media by members of the community. And you, Mr. Fontes, will begin with this question. And then we'll move alphabetically to Ms. Ostrowski and then back to Mr. Duran and Ms. Ellis. And the first question is succinct. What does the Madison School District need in its new superintendent?
All right. The Madison School District needs a superintendent with confidence, with a vision, somebody that is a relationship builder, an active listener, a relationship builder that can pull different stakeholders together. All stakeholders are important here. And so we need somebody to fit all of that, to fit our high bar for excellence in Madison. Ideally, that person brings experience, because right now we're at a point where we can't do a lot of learning on the job. We need somebody to take the reins and to bring this district forwards. I hope that we find somebody that wants to be here, that knows our issues and has tangible solutions for how to solve some of the issues in our district. They need to be able to inspire people, because right now we're at a very we're at a tipping point. And so it's extremely important that we get a superintendent that understands the issues facing our community and can really be that relationship builder.
Thank you. And now on to you, Mrs. Ostrowski.
Yes, I agree that confident leader is really important and charismatic, one with really strong interpersonal skills. We need a superintendent who's going to take the reins right away, and while doing so, listening to all the stakeholders and working together. We really need a superintendent who will help prioritize funding, who has experience develop programming, and who knows how to hire exceptional talent, because we have other senior administrative leadership roles that need to be filled. And that, of course, will be that superintendent's main focus. And in addition to that, one of those big holes, of course, special services leadership. So we strongly hope that we'll find a strong candidate for that.
Thank you. And finally to Lisa Ellis, Miss Ellis.
Not finally, though, right?
Yeah, I think I got it.
Yeah.
Were we going to me next?
The Madison School District needs a
Sorry.
very strong academic leader with vision, intelligence, an appreciation for the community and all that this community represents, and has to be very student focused and staff focused. We need somebody who's going to get in the buildings, get in the classrooms, roll up his sleeves, be a part of the team. Madison doesn't work unless everybody works together and everybody feels empowered and cared for and respected. And there's a lot of work to do here. And I'm really hoping, with the help of the search committee, search firm, that we can find that leader. It's really essential, and somebody who will stay here, hopefully, for a longer period of time.
Thank you. And apologies, Mr. Duran. I lost sequence. Go.
Quite all right.
Yeah.
We'll go with the flow. Yeah, so I mean, at risk of repeating some of what's been said, I think there's really three key pillars in my mind. We need a proven leader that can get things done, hit the ground running. We have to close some education gaps, implement some stronger programs, and hire, a lot of hiring to do and build that internal team. We need to strengthen the relationships, both internally and externally, to the schools, with the community and with the staff. And we need somebody that can communicate clearly. It's harder than it looks. You don't always appreciate it when you have it, but you certainly miss it when it's gone. And I think we need all three of those. And I agree with, it'd be great if somebody wants to stay here for a little bit longer and we can tick all those boxes.
Thank you. Now we'll move to our second question, and we'll begin with Deirdre Ostrowski. Are you in favor of the referendum this December, and do you support all three questions?
Are there three additional questions, or you're
The three questions within the referendum? I understand that you have question one for about 55 million for some basic structure, and then a second and a third part or question. Not being a resident of Madison, maybe I'm using the correct term.
Well, undoubtedly, our schools need major improvements. We've been through a lot recently with pandemics, poor air quality, a fire alarm system failing. And for me, during those challenging times, having a safe, healthy space for our children to gather is the number one priority.
Mhm.
Because if they're not there, they're home. Or if they're there in an unsafe environment, it's nothing else works. From what I understand so far with the referendum, we can get there, but it would be a passion project of mine to ensure that all line items are clearly communicated to the public and the community, and that we synergize all of these high-level goals and that the referendum meets them, because everything is linked to facilities, and it has so much to do with all of these problems we're facing. So yes, overall, absolutely, but we need to do a much better job at getting the community invested in voting yes. We got to do it.
Okay. And now to you, Mr. Duran.
So I love the question. Thank you for the question. I'm 100% for investing in our aging schools and doing it in a way that's both financially sound, cost effective, versus waiting for things to break, disrupt the school year, and then trying to fix them on the fly. Like Deirdre mentioned, we had a flooded basement at Capital. We had a fire system failure that missed a school day. We had a flooded basement. We had asbestos and mold. These things just keep happening. The buildings are really old. All that said, I'm really trying to remain patient to hear the specifics of what is actually being proposed. You mentioned 3 questions. We have a list of some items potentially against, grouped in different ways. That list is not finalized. We don't have final costs. We don't have final confirmation on what the state's funding. We're waiting for those details to know exactly what is being put forward potentially in December. So in principle, I'm for it, but I think some work needs to be done to finalize what is actually being proposed so that the public can understand and we can make an informed decision about what we're getting for that money.
Thank you. And Ms. Ellis, now it's your turn.
Okay. I have a long history as far as the school buildings and understanding what they need. And I do not doubt for a second that every proposed penny of this referendum is needed. However, the communication on this has been troubling to me. We still do not, and I sat in on some of the stakeholder meetings early. We do not have details. This community is intelligent. They need to know. They want to know everything in this referendum, and we don't have that information. And it's almost, it's 2.5 months away. So I'm very disappointed in the way that communication has been rolling out. They'll have to do a lot better job and in a very short period of time to get this up and running.
Thank you. And Mr. Fontes.
Agree with everybody in terms of the timeline. We would love to see more details. The PR firm working on that as well with the website, just making it more digestible, getting the final costs and the final numbers. With that said, though, I am for this referendum. Questions 1, 2, and 3, because they are needed. And we have to realize that the time is now because there's state aid coming in. This isn't just out of taxpayer pockets. It's state aid also kicking in with this. So it's really important that we do this because we can't do these wholesale projects without all that extra aid. So it's extremely important. We need safe and healthy classroom spaces, and it all ties back to instruction and the students. You want to close achievement gaps, have rooms that are functioning, have better air conditioning so students aren't overheated. We need to do what's right by the students. This is a community that supports its schools. And I hope that everybody comes out in December and is able to vote for this when we have clear information.
Thank you. Our third question continues this discussion. It's of interest, it seems, to the Madison community. And we'll begin with Mr. Duran. How do you suggest the Madison School District move forward if one or more referendum questions does not pass?
That's an interesting question. I mean, to a large extent, this work is going to happen over time, one way or another. I think it's a question of, does it happen in the most efficient way, proactively instead of reactively? and with the state aid, hopefully, as Eric mentioned. I haven't seen another thing. We don't know what are the contingency plans if it doesn't. Right now, we're sitting here as members of the public with no other information than what's been shared, outwardly and publicly. So I'm optimistic that we'll start to get more clarity on that in these next couple weeks and months. But right now, I don't know. We'll have to keep making do, band-aiding things piecemeal as we have been, which is not a great approach, really. So I hope we can do better than that. There's definitely some more work to be done.
Thank you, Ms. Ellis.
Can you please repeat the question?
Sure. How do you suggest the Madison School District move forward if one or more referendum questions does not pass?
Okay. As has been said, there really is no way to effectively address everything that has been proposed, regardless of whether I know what question they are in at this point, without some influx of capital. And that has to be, we cannot do the work that's proposed just through the annual budget. It's just not, it's not possible. When we sold the Green Village Road School in 2016, we were able to negotiate a pilot payment of a percentage from the new apartments that were built that comes to the school that was dedicated for maintenance, but that's a very small amount comparatively. It's like $200,000 to $300,000 a year.
Thank you. Now we move to Mr. Fontes.
It would become a top priority if one of those questions weren't met, because they are facility needs and they have to somehow get addressed. It would be a bit back to the drawing board. We're in an interesting situation because we've got two huge things, the referendum and the search for the superintendent. You're starting to witness, you've got four very capable individuals here, and we want to be able to help out, and we're in this tricky time. So we hope that the current board is able to go through all of this, but we will hit the ground running. It's important. We have to look at, there is a certain percentage of the budget that gets capped for these, facility upgrades. So we would have to really go to the drawing board and figure out how to be fiscally responsible. I would say also that I have experience working as part of a $37 million referendum that was just passed last year in the district that I work in. So I'm no stranger to passing referendums. Okay.
I recognize that Ms. Ellis wants to make an additional comment, but first we'll continue with Ms. Ostrowski.
Sure, yes. I think at that point, I would rely on, and I think the board as a whole needs to lean on experts more to really understand what's best. And I'm not sure if that expertise exists with just the board itself. The board seems to be great at getting third-party assistance, but that seems like such a complex issue that we would need to rely on additional help, in my opinion, to make the best decision. However, I think my mindset is let's not fail. Let's move forward getting this approved and just coming up with the proper PR and marketing campaign to do so. So that's just how I would need to lead and think right now.
Yes. And in keeping with our protocols, Ms. Ellis and any other of the three remaining candidates may have 30 seconds to respond. But we'll start with you since you raised your hand, Ms. Ellis, and our timekeeper will make the adjustment for 30 seconds.
Thank you. I really had just a quick comment. If a referendum fails, there's nothing that prohibits you from going back out, restructuring the questions, changing things a bit, or going back out exactly as you went out the first time. If it's that important to this community, which I believe it is, I think this is something we can't give up. And and you would just try again and keep trying until it met the community's parameters.
Thank you. Does any of the remaining three candidates like to comment? Yes, Mr.
Yes.
Duran.
So Lisa beat me to the punch, but yes, failing once doesn't prohibit you from going again and taking the learnings, taking the feedback, and coming back and refining a second time. I also love Deirdre's comment that we should plan for success and we should drive it now to get it done. And I hope we see that in the next couple of months.
Yes, Mr. Fontes.
I'm thinking about everybody viewing this, and I want you to realize that 2024 is going to be different. You're going to have a lot of trusted people. There's going to be better cohesion. And I would just hate for maybe the current mood to trickle into what's happening with the superintendent search, to trickle into what's happening with the referendum. Get out there and please share your thoughts for the superintendent. We need parent input. We need community input. Please reach out to your board members with that. It's really important.
Thank you. Do you want to respond? Okay, or we'll move on. Okay. Our fourth question is on a different topic, and we'll begin with Ms. Ellis. How do you intend to keep students with disabilities as a part of the conversation in all aspects of decisions being made? How will you solicit input from parents on policy that directly impacts students with disabilities and their families?
We have always had a very strong and vocal parent group in this district. I have heard stories lately that they are not involved in communications. If you have a student out of district, I find that appalling, and I'm hoping that is corrected long before any of us get elected. It's vital to include all families, all students in every decision. They have to be at the table. They have to be, especially now when we'll be looking for a new director of special services. And I advocate for a thorough evaluation of our current programs, and parents and students, we all have to be involved in that process.
Mr. Fontes.
We have such an involved parent community in our special education parent groups, and we have to be able to listen to them, and we have to create opportunities for that to happen. Finding a permanent administrator in charge of special services, that's going to be extremely important. That falls on the superintendent, which is why that superintendent search is so important. It's hard with personnel to be able to bring in extra stakeholders to such, say, a confidential process. But in the day-to-days that the Board of Education is considering, you can bring in stakeholders from those different parent groups, and we need to do that more. If we're looking at programs, if we're looking at what we want to do moving forward, and we have a large enough focus group, we need people at the table with us sharing their insight. We need to listen to them. And I think it's really important, and we're going to bring that. We're going to say, well, how does this impact special education? The referendum, are we going to be, compliant with ADA, with everything that we would have to do? We have to ask those questions, and it's extremely important. And I've always been doing that in my career, thinking about how it impacts special education.
Thank you. And Ms. Ostrowski.
Well, I believe that special services, inclusion, social emotional learning, all of those things together will make every student better, to test better, live better, thrive better. And the superintendent role is so important because in that interview process, I really believe we need to drill down the importance of special services and future programming. For example, our ABA programming in the elementary level is a wonderful dialed program, but we need the time and funding and foresight to plan for the future. So we need those leaders in place. and engaging with CPAG and engaging with the parents and the case managers and really coming to support each other, because the special needs parents need that the most. They tend to have the least amount of time.
Thank you. Okay, our next question is less issue oriented, but
Sorry, did I get I think
oh
I need
my
a crack
goodness.
at that.
And you're in the wrong spot on my screen, Mr. Duran. I am.
You gotta move
Wow.
over to one side.
Yeah, move over. Okay.
I'll
Thank you.
shuffle
My bad.
chairs.
Okay.
That's quite all right. I'm trying to keep up. Yeah, so I think it starts for me with engaging with those parent groups and really them having a seat at the table, as the others have said, and really listening to their concerns, understanding the gaps, and then working with the administration to make sure we have plans in place to address those gaps. And I think, appreciate the CPAG group and Karen Howick for championing a lot of that conversation over the recent years. I think some progress is being made with the work Donna Gallo's been doing in this area. Definitely we need the chief administrator in place and then the rest of the team filled in. So there's more work to do, but I think it starts with listening and working with the parent groups that care so much about these topics.
So now we take a little different turn and ask a different kind of question. And this will first go to Eric Fontes. And again, all of these questions have been posted on the League of Women Voters social media, and we are now asking them in this form. How many school board meetings have you attended since January 2023? Was your attendance in person or remote? And have you spoken in public session?
I've attended virtually all of them. I have not attended in person, and we like to have that Zoom, that remote option. Parents are very busy, elementary school age students, but I think just by being an observer, and then when I want to share my opinion, I can share it. Public comment, I have not public comment, but I think also sometimes we have to realize the public comment's directed specifically to the Board of Education. You can always go to your building principal, to your children's teacher. You can actually speak with the superintendent or the interim superintendent outside of, say, public comment. And I think that's important too, because you need to have those interpersonal relationships. And so I've spoken with different administrators. I myself have attended a lot of board meetings in the district that I work in. I'm no stranger to them. And I've seen how they run well, and I've seen how they have not run well. And I really look forward to bringing a more cohesive board together. The board shouldn't be the focus in a meeting. I think that's really important that we get back to the students, which are the most important.
Thank you. And now we go to Ms. Ostrowski.
Hi, yes, in person, I believe 4 or 5 meetings since January I've been at, and almost all of the meetings I have been on Zoom, including a camping trip, which my husband wasn't so excited about. But I feel very invested in this. And I even geeked out over the summer and was watching Board of Ed meetings for other districts. And I think what they were doing so beautifully was celebrating the community, or if the boys golf team won the states or the marching band come in. And I really think all of those things are so important. And right now, I know we have real concrete things that we need to be accomplished, but we need to change the meeting format a little bit to get parents more engaged, community members more engaged. And I feel very strongly about that. And I would be really excited to propose some ideas for how to do that.
Now, Mr. Duran.
Thank you. I love what Deirdre said about, in kind of tweaking the format to encourage more attendance. Personally, I've joined probably 3 in person and then watched the rest either live or sometimes delayed. I think in that order is probably the best. If you can go, if you can make it, it's a different vibe to be there in person. Also, I think the hybrid of being able to watch it later is great to keep informed. You can 2X it while you're doing the dishes and just slow it down when you get to the good part. So encourage people to attend and also agree that, if whoever's in those seats next year, I think we'd be looking to make them more engaging, make them more collaborative and celebrate the schools beyond just the kind of day-to-day business.
Thank you. And now to you, Miss Ellis.
Well, during my 16 years on the board, I missed one meeting due to a family medical emergency. And over the last 2023, I've been at every meeting, whether it be mostly in person. I think I've only done 2 virtually. And right after, I've been attending meetings regularly, and I often make public comment. Only when I feel very strongly about something, that something's not, that there's a communication issue between the board and the community. We can do better. Meetings should be more of a celebration. Absolutely, they used to be. I would love to see us go back there. There's so many wonderful things going on in our district, and they need to be celebrated. We can do a better job.
And our sixth question, we'll begin with Ms. Ostrowski. Yes, or did you want to 30 seconds? Okay, 30 seconds. Ms. Ostrowski, anyone else?
Yes, please. I didn't answer the question about commenting at a Board of Ed meeting. I did this year. I wanted to share something positive about happening within our ABA programming. And that was before the mass exodus. So I was a little bit late on engaging more. So just a message and a reminder to get more involved. But previously, the topic of our third party hiring our aides, we have some of the most incredible educators and aides in our community live in our community. I'll run into them in the grocery store. So okay. I'll get it.
You can return in your closing. Thank you. Does anyone else want to take 30 seconds? Okay. So we can move on. And you're up as the first one, Mrs. And this is back to board roles. How do you intend to provide oversight to the administration so that the Madison schools are fully compliant with both federal and state education requirements?
So in all honesty, this will be the biggest learning gap for me. I will need to be learning all the policies, laws, regulations, what board members can and cannot do. But I'm a fast learner, and with that said, that will be paramount. Sorry, I almost forgot the first part of your question.
Would you like me to repeat it, or?
If that's okay,
Okay. And maybe we can have a little bit of wiggle room from the timekeeper. How do you intend to provide oversight to the administration so that the Madison schools are fully compliant with both federal and state education requirements?
Yes, I don't know if this is possible, or I'd have to learn about this, but I would like to align with our district attorney better and build a relationship there. And I would really like to be involved with communicating, if you're allowed to, the leadership to make sure that we're in compliance.
Thank you. Okay, so now, and now we begin with Mr. Duran. Continue.
Yeah, thank you. So I think it's a good question and a good understanding that, you know, this is the board's primary role, is that oversight role over the administration to make sure that things are running as they're supposed to be. So I think it starts with understanding the gaps. And for most of us, we're coming into this new, so we all have some learning. Well, most of us have some learning to do. But I think you can understand those gaps by, again, reaching out to the different experts, both within the district and within the broader community, to listen to their concerns and where things may not be running, you know, to the standards that they are supposed to be. And then I'd look to the administration to say, okay, you know, we've done our gap analysis. We know where we stand. What's the plan to close, and what's preventing us from closing those gaps? Is it staffing? Is it financial resources? We should have, know where we stand, do the what's the plan, and then we can start working it. Some of that's probably confidential in exec session, but I think that's how you start.
Thank you. And Ms. Ellis.
The board primary role is hiring one of the primary roles is hiring a superintendent. It's through the working with the superintendent that everyone else gets held accountable. The board oversees the superintendent oversees everyone else. The board has a real good opportunity while sitting on our standing committees to really get into some detail and depth in the different areas, whether it's education, operations, personnel. And that's sort of an opportunity to have more of a voice in what goes on throughout the district, but through the superintendent primarily.
Thank you. And Mr. Fontes.
Yeah, the district attorney trusts the people that know those laws front and back. They're your guiding light with a lot of that stuff. But I think specifically, what Ms. Ellis was saying, we're talking about getting a lot of work done in committee meetings. And I think sometimes the public doesn't realize how much you can have a dialogue back and forth and bring up what's going on during committee meetings. And that's really important. I would look forward to serving on an education committee. I'd look forward to serving on, say, an HR or personnel committee. And it's in those meetings that you want to pose those questions to make sure that you're compliant. And you're holding those administrators accountable to get those answers to you. And it has to do with holding a superintendent accountable. I think we need to have some really good, well thought out, smart goals being specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. And you can run data against it to see if you're actually doing that. So we really need to work on holding all administrators accountable as best we can and making sure that we're compliant.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I add, Louise?
Sure.
So it's not a rebuttal so much as an ad. I think how we hold the administration accountable is just as important as doing it. Meaning you can do that in an antagonistic way, in a hostile way, and I don't think that's setting us up for the best success. So I'd be looking to have accountability, but have collaboration, working closely with whoever the new CSA is, to make sure that we're all pointed in the same direction. We're all on the same team. So there's accountability, but there also has to be kind of teamwork and collaboration to get that done.
Fine. Does anyone else want 30 seconds?
I'll take 30 seconds just to say that none of these questions can be effectively answered in 1 minute.
Well, we want to get through and honor people's attention span. It's a trade-off. Yes, Mr. Fontes.
I was just thinking of, even just knowing exactly what are the graduation requirements as that changes year to year. It's now the NJGPA given to 11th graders, and we have to make sure that they're meeting the English and math standards. And I hope that there's a question in there about, how we're doing on our state testing, which is affecting our state rankings, which is affecting the perception of, our instruction. And I think that's important. And I think that we need to realize, and I hope we have a question to talk about it, that there's more to be done there, in raising the bar for our instructional methods.
Now, our next question 7 will begin with Mr. Duran. And the question is, do you support the state transgender student policy for our schools?
Yes. I think one of the most impactful things I've seen this board do is stand up in no uncertain doubt for those groups and, for equality for all. So, yes.
Ms. Ellis.
Yes, actually, I was still on the board when we passed the first transgender policy in 2015 and then revised it again in 2016. I was a very aggressive advocate for it. It's absolutely the right thing to do. I support it wholeheartedly. I too was proud of the way the board stood up for it. Every one of our students should be respected and nurtured and cared for. Anything else is completely unacceptable to me.
And Mr. Fontes.
Yes, I absolutely support it. I think it's great. You know, our community, we value everybody, and we want to be able to do that in the schools. We want everybody to feel safe. We want them to feel respected. Nobody should ever feel like a second-class citizen. Everybody is valued in Madison, and I think that's really important. And you know, we talk about social emotional learning. It's just everything that the board can do with how they look at their policies and making sure it's as inclusive as possible, as equitable as possible, because the whole child needs to feel valued, and we demand the best, that the whole child gets educated and also has a good self-confidence and feels an acceptance. And I think it's just extremely important.
Okay. And Ms. Ostrowski.
Yes, I do. And for the parents who are concerned or have issues, of course, you're always welcome to address. But I'd also just like to say, have more faith in our children, because sending them the right message they're pretty incredible, you know, and just showing kindness and acceptance. And there's more good that comes from it, from anything negative.
Okay. Now, our next question that was posted on the League's social media asked the question to Ms. Ellis, but in keeping with our practices, all four candidates will have 1 minute to respond. But since I selected this question when you're the first one, Ms. Ellis, and again, something from a community member. Should a school board member be able to maintain a municipal position in town, or does this present a conflict of interest?
It presents no conflict of interest. It was that was determined when I held the position while I was still on the board in 2017. We had legal teams on both sides look at the issue, and both determined it was not a conflict of interest. My love and passion for this community really knows no bounds. I have really worked every day of the last 30 plus years trying to make this a better place. There's no conflict. I can make it all better. I try every day.
Mr. Fontes, did you want to respond?
I imagine that, you know, Ms. Ellis did the due diligence on that, and really, I don't really have a strong opinion, because I think what's most important is that we're just finding the best individuals, and everybody is doing this as a volunteer. We all have our own professions. We all have our own jobs. And, you know, the thing to realize about education is it's nonpartisan. You check a lot of it at the door, and you're working as a board, and you're working as not individuals, but a collective entity. And so we look just to see, you know, that what we bring in is we're helping the students, and we're looking at the policies, and we're holding, you know, a superintendent accountable, and we're doing that regardless of what our profession is. You know, we're doing it from the goodness of our heart, and we all want to be able to complement each other. And I think all the voters should be thinking about who's going to move on to that board and who would complement the current members, and what that dynamic would look like. So we want to bring cohesion. I'm an agent of change, and, you know, I'm not a lightning rod. I know that I can get along very well with the board.
And Ms. Ostrowski.
Yeah, I just wanted everyone to know, behind the scenes, we've all been incredibly supportive of each other. And this is a really incredible slate of people. And whether or not I'm elected on the board, I will be supporting Eric, Lisa, and David, no matter what. But the simple answer is no, I'm not concerned with any conflict.
And Mr. Duran.
Yeah, same. I can't see a conflict there. And also, I think kind of the opposite, in that the community is integral to the schools, and the schools are integral to the community. So potentially even some synergy there, and, you know, rising tide lifts all boats kind of thing. So no concerns from my side. And
for our ninth question, we'll begin with Mr. Fontes. Has the Madison School District responded adequately to incidents of racism and bullying?
No, from what I'm hearing, I really don't think so. And I think it has to do with communication, transparency, and carrying through on discipline. And I think it's important that we look at that. And it's going to start with, right now, an interim principal at, say, a junior school. You need to look at what you're doing with your code of conduct. You need to make sure that you have an action plan for what that discipline is, because you want teachers to feel empowered to be able to also stand up and advocate for a child. You know, if there's some type of misconduct that's being directed towards one's individual. And I think it's really good, the conversations that are happening in the community, and they should be happening, because I think more can be done. And that's going to start with finding a really good permanent replacement at the middle school, and thinking about what do we do with communication, transparency, and how we implement discipline. We have to be able to do that. We'd love for parents and students to do it, you know, and advocate and stand up to each other, but we also have to take means with discipline.
Ostrowski.
Yes, I know this is a top priority for most in our community. And I think through the search process, as long as we keep it at the top of our discussions and for our leader, that can help. I also think as parents, most of the parents in this community spend so much time with their children with so many different activities. Like, we all need to make the effort to be at the dinner table with our children and doing our part as well. And I'm committed to doing that. My husband is. That's what we do in our home. And I want nothing more for this to be a community of diversity and acceptance. And I know we can. I've seen these kids, you know, at Central Avenue School in Torrey J, and I have more faith in the future too. Like, these are really good, solid kids. I know we can get there, but we got to do our part too, and we have to support the teachers.
And now to you, Mr. Duran.
Thank you. So, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I think the answer to the specific question is no at this point. More work definitely needs to be done. It's clear from comments in multiple board meetings that have been raised bravely, I might add, that, you know, we're not immune to this. And I thank the Tucker family for sharing their challenges, and Dion James, who was a candidate for this position, but has decided to kind of champion this topic outside of the board, which is amazing as well. Continues to drive for some change on this, including at a community forum on Monday at the First Baptist Church, Monday night. I plan to be there, encourage the community to join, because this is a topic that the schools, you know, can't solve this on their own. I think they have a role to play, but we need that conversation to be happening so that we can get to a better place and put those issues behind us.
And Miss Ellis.
Yes, I would, no, I'm not answering yes. I agree. We have not yet done enough, but I do feel like it's a factor of all the transition that's been going on. It's wonderful that Dion and Reverend Dunn are hosting these conversations. They're wonderful community opportunities for community engagement, but these conversations really have to happen within the schools themselves. We can do a lot better. There has to be, it has to be evaluated. There has to be appropriate discipline protocols, thorough education, targeted programming for students and their families. This will take the whole community, but it has to happen in the schools.
Thank you. And this is the final question from the community. And we'll begin with Ms. Ostrowski. What one thing would you most like to change about the Madison school system if elected to the school board, and how would you do it? And the request is to be specific.
One thing.
One thing, pick your priority.
I think it would be if we could secure, which might not be during our, obviously this prior to January timeline, but to secure that phenomenal, confident, charismatic doer of a superintendent who has been in out of district schools, experience with special needs and IEPs and athletics and improving music and arts. Like, we really need just the gem of all gems who will stay here for the future. I think everything else needs to fall place around that. Specifically as to how I would do that, we may not be a part of that hiring process right now, but when that person comes in, or the next big thing obviously is a referendum, I would be a champion for that individual as best I could and connect with the other organizations and partner better with all the organizations in our community.
Thank you. Mr. Duran.
So number one.
Number one.
Number one goal to accomplish.
Yes.
Thing to achieve.
Yes.
Restore trust, which takes time. And I think it starts by listening and engaging and really taking the time to hear and rebuild some of those bridges, restore some of those relationships. It takes a lot of time. I mean, my mom, who will be tuned in, watching, would say, trust takes all the time in the world to build and is very quickly burned. And I think we have a little bit of trust to restore with our stakeholders and our community.
And Ms. Ellis.
I would echo what was said already. I mean, obviously hiring the superhero of a superintendent that this district needs is key. And that person will not come on board until the new board is seated in January. That's just not possible for that to happen before that. Rebuilding that relationship, that team, building working to build the board into a more proactive, transparent body who works well with the superintendent. That's kind of the key. It's going to have to start from the top, I believe. A lot of what needs to be corrected here.
Mr. Fontes.
It's hard just to pick one thing, but it does start with the top-down leader. Top-down leader, finding that perfect fit, finding that person, and realize that us as a board are going to help this person and set them up for success, and then hold them accountable. And we're looking forward to working with that superintendent that will be hired. And I think another thing that I would really love to do is obviously rebuild that trust from the top down with that superintendent, hopefully communicating very well with all members of the community, teachers. And I wish I could snap my finger and turn Madison schools into state-of-the-art 21st century schools. We have dynamite students that deserve dynamite facilities, and they deserve the best programming. Are we doing enough with our instructional programming? I've got a lot of ideas. I bring a STEAM background, and I think it's really important that our classes reflect courses that they're going to take in college and the professions that they're going to move into. And I think we can influence that also in our committee meetings and what we do.
This concludes our asking all the questions from the community. And that was our commitment to the Madison community. So I know there have been other suggestions, but I think we'll leave those for formal gatherings. We'll now move to the closing portion of the program, where each of the candidates has 2 minutes to wrap things up, take the chance to highlight something maybe that that's been discussed. And we'll start for this closing comment with Ms. Ostrowski. And you need to unmute. Anything going on in your home, but
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And we also just wanted to share, we'll be at Bottle Hill Day. Anyone can reach out to us at any time if they feel like they want more of a conversation. If I were to be elected to sit on the board, my priority would be to advocate for the children and their educators. I would collaborate with the other Board of Ed members, listen to the parents, caretakers, Madison community members with respect and objectivity, consult expert advice and data, and take action. My unique value proposition to the board would be my ability to help develop a better internal and external communication system, boost morale and community engagement, and help empower while holding accountable, but support our interim and future long-term superintendent. That relationship is so critical and valuable to our kids. I would also be honored to leverage my contract negotiation, program management, and partnership skills. Thank you. Good night.
good night. And Mr. Fontes.
Well, thank you for taking the time to ask these questions. Thank you to the public for posing these questions. And I hope that everybody viewing that we've captured your attention, earned some of your trust, and built some hope. Because the four of us, we've had some great conversations. We're very accessible. We want to be able to hear from the public because it's important that we rebuild that trust. And so we're looking forward to doing great things. I hope that everybody gets out and votes on November 7th. Our board needs collaborative, professional, level-headed individuals. And that's something that I can bring. I am that person. I would be the only public school educator on that board. And, you know, like I mentioned, that STEAM aspect, I work with data every day. I know how to create those measurable goals. I know how to work with teacher retention because, gosh, our teachers are amazing. And we have to make sure that they're supported and that we're retaining them. And when we make these day-to-day decisions, we still have to have an eye towards how are we meeting our state standards? How are we impacting the school performance ratings? And I can juggle all of that. You know, we need clearly defined strategies, you know, a lot of interest and attention to special education, finding those permanent replacements for our children. It is for the students. And I think it's really important that we get away from, it's not about the board, it's about the students. And we have to make board meetings again about the students. Celebrate all the good that we have here and realize that we have a very, very supportive community that wants to help. We're here to help. I think that we can close the achievement gaps. I think there's some subgroups that we need to be able to support better. I have a lot of MTSS experience, and I think there was a good document that just came out from Dr. Gallo. Look forward to a lot with that. And I will help bring Madison back to that level of excellence that we want to be able to see for our schools.
Thank you. And now to you, Miss Ellis, for your 2-minute closing statement. And you need to unmute. You need to unmute.
And learn to talk faster. I have to do that as well. I cut myself off before. For anybody who doesn't know, I have 5 children. I've lived here for almost 39 years. My kids were in school from the fall of 1989 through June of 2013. I was on the board, involved with PTO, all kinds of things. And Madison, at one point during that period, we had reached pretty much the pinnacle. We were ranked 6th in the state. Those were wonderful years. My children had amazing educational experiences in Madison, and your children and my grandchildren eventually, I hope, deserve that as well. We can do better, Madison. We can absolutely do better. We need to refocus and put our students first. I believe my extensive leadership experience, my deep and unwavering commitment to this community, my ability to listen, and common sense approach will help stabilize board governance and be an asset as I work with my fellow board members to restore accountability and ensure every student achieves their highest individual potential. We have a lot of work ahead, and I would like the opportunity to serve this community once again on the Board of Education. Thank you, and for more information, please visit my new campaign website, Lisa Ellis for MadisonBOE.com. I've laid out a complete platform because I knew I would never be able to say everything I needed to say in a minute. Thank you.
Good for you. Okay. Well, this concludes our program, and it sounds like,
Louise,
oh my God.
we were doing so
Wow.
well.
My peripheral vision is going. It's Mr. Durand. Yes. Thank
Quite
God
all
I
right.
don't live in Madison. That's why we
That's
are
quite all right. That's quite all right.
someone from out when you mess up. Okay.
The reverse order, I think it threw us, so that's
Yeah.
okay. That's all right. So as was said, thanks again to everyone involved, putting this together, taking the time to tune in and watch it either tonight or between now and election day to learn more about us. And thanks for making this forum available, because it's not always easy to learn about the board candidates in your local town. Madison is a great town. We have a great set of schools with amazing students and committed teachers. On top of that, we have a community that cares deeply about our kids, the arts, special needs, diversity, sports, and so much more. We need to reconnect with that sense of community, that collaboration, that partnership, and together help move our schools forward into the next chapter. Change is hard. When we've had a lot of it lately, it brings uncertainty, but it's also an opportunity to start fresh, bring in new ideas, and rebuild for the future. I hope you'll choose me to help in that work. And as others have said, we'll see you at Bottle Hill. We'll be reaching out together collaboratively to the various community groups over the coming weeks. And if you want to check out my website, Duran4 MadisonBOE.com, I'd love to connect and talk to you directly. Thanks again. Have a great night.
All right. Well, we appreciate that the candidates have thanked the league and our co-sponsors, the Madison Eagle and the NAACP. But I know I speak for every member of our league that we thank you, the candidates, and I think members of the Madison community should be very proud of these candidates, that we would go anywhere or virtually to moderate forums, and often candidates are reluctant to put themselves on the line as these four individuals. So thank you very much to the four candidates. This is wonderful. I'd also give my heartfelt gratitude to my dear friend Diane Holland, who you don't see, but who is an essential part, Diane, for serving in the timekeeper role. I moderate, believe it or not, with the mistakes tonight, Mr. Duran, I moderated over 100 forms, but I did the timekeeping once and had a headache. I mean, that was not my role with the league. So we really want to thank Diane. We always add and conclude with a reminder to the public that voting this year is Tuesday, November 7th. And the deadline to register, and maybe have forms at the Bottle Hill, is October 17th. So it's important to get registered by then. You can now register online with the Division of Election, on the Division of Election website. It's really quite user-friendly. You can also vote by mail and make an application there. If you're voting by mail, that's a different procedure. For full information, you can look at the League of Women Voters of New Jersey website. We have all the dates and caveats there. We'll just remind the listening public that this form is owned by the League of Women Voters, and our recording is available for viewing on our YouTube channel, and we encourage you to share that YouTube link with all interested parties. But we do not allow people to cut and paste excerpts of this meeting tonight, and it should be shown in its entirety. So again, thank you to our 4 candidates. Thank you, Diane. And this concludes our program. Please give us about 48 hours to get on the YouTube. It's not a simple push the button, so we have to do a few things, but that will be posted and ready for all of you to view who don't know about it right now. So